Hi, my fellow friends. Welcome to the program Careers Connect, a DPS-ALUMNI NETWORK presentation. My name is Neelam Bedi Sohn. I am a human resource trainer by profession, and I am a certified trainer. I have my working presence in Delhi and Dubai. In the competitive world of today, the students are having a number of career options that are not only overwhelming but confusing. Here, the Careers Connect initiative of DPS-ALUMNI Network aims to help students make an informed choice by interacting with top-notch professionals globally. The main aim is to understand the education required to qualify and trials and tribulations they underwent, the struggles and the sacrifices they made, the net result of their career decision, even if made in different time, circumstances, and environment. Now I invite Mr. Rajiv Soni, the man behind this program, Careers Connect, to say a few words.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you, Neelam. We welcome Commodore Anil Jai Singh, a senior naval officer, for today's episode of Career Connect. Career Connect took birth in 2014, actually, when a premium school in NCR had invited me to put together a program for their 600 children, and we were able to request over 35 professionals to come in person from different professions and come and share their journeys in different professions. In addition, we had 5 people from overseas. So that was 6 years ago. The pandemic has helped in a manner, though it's not a very nice thing to say, but yes, it has helped in a manner that today we can get people from across the world at one common platform to share their thoughts, their views, their journeys. And hence we are here today with Commodore Anil Jai Singh. With those few words, I hand the mic back to Neelamji.
Thank you very much, Rajiv.
भारतीय नौसेना युद्ध तत्पर, विश्वसनीय, सुगठित। नौसेना दिवस के अवसर पर हमसे मिलिए सिर्फ दूरदर्शन पर।
Commodore Anil Jai Singh, a dynamic, majestic, and a flamboyant personality, was commissioned into Indian Navy in January 1981, from where he took premature retirement in March 2011, after serving for 3 decades as a submariner. In his second professional innings, he is presently the Senior Vice President of leading European MNC and also the Vice President of Indian Maritime Foundation, an instructor in the Submarine Warfare School at Visakhapatnam, and then the ASW officer to commission, INS Sindhu Kesri in Soviet Union, then the Principal Control Officer's post, was awarded the Chief of Naval Staff Trophy for standing first. From mid-1994 to end 1998, he had the privilege of commanding 4 submarines, command INS Kursura and INS Sindhu Kesri, the best submarines in the East Coast. In Delhi, he is appointed Naval Headquarters Joint Director for Submarine Acquisition and Naval Plans. A postgraduate in Defense and Strategic Studies, he is a life member and advisor to various think tanks. Co-chairman of SOSAM, National Defense and Aerospace Committee, a keen rider, and has represented the Navy in tennis. Presently, his sporting exploits are restricted to golf course. Welcome to the program, Commodore Anil Jai Singh.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you for those very kind words of introduction. And it's a privilege to be on this program. And I'll be very happy if I could clear some cobwebs in the minds of young people. I do agree with what you said right in the beginning, that children today are faced with a multitude of choices.
Correct.
I think we were luckier in our time. There were 6 or 7 options you had, depending on how many marks you got in your
Correct.
board exams.
Correct.
And
Correct.
that sort of decided what you could do in life. But I'm sure children are faced with tremendous amount of choices. I know it happened with my children too. And I'll be glad to shed some light. I think it's a great initiative you all are taking in this regard to make young children aware of what various professions and careers have to offer. And I'll be happy to contribute to that. Thank you very much.
Thank you. It's an honor to have you on board. Commodore Anil Jai Singh, please. Yeah. Okay, tell me, Anil, you have been in the Naval Force for almost 3 decades. What made you opt for this Indian Navy to make a career?
That's a difficult one to answer. Well, I was like any other schoolboy. I passed out from Delhi Public School, Mathura Road in March 1976. And of course, like I said, there were limited options then. I was a science student, but science really didn't catch my fancy. So I didn't do the usual IIT entrance, etc. Instead, I joined Hindu College and I was doing my history honors there, which also was a bit surprising because I had got admission in St. Stephen's, but everyone wondered why I chose Hindu over St. Stephen's, but that's a different reason altogether. Nevertheless, the fact of the matter is, but I also appeared at the same time for the National Defense Academy exam. And, that's a pretty difficult exam. In our time also, it was a fairly tough exam to get through. But today, the National Defense Academy has every year, almost 350,000 students appearing for the exam.
Correct.
And they have about 400 vacancies. So that's the sort of competition there is to enter the armed forces.
Correct.
Which people really don't know very much about. And once I qualified the National Defense Academy exam and then the service selection board for which I went to Bangalore, it somehow just was a natural choice to join the National Defense Academy after that and choose the armed forces as a profession. I happen to be a 4th generation military person. My great-grandfather was in the army. My grandfather fought in Second World War. My father was in the army through various operations. I'm actually the black sheep of the family who joined the Navy. Everybody else chose to be in the army. But nevertheless, I think I made a wise choice.
Brilliant, brilliant. Okay, Anil, does sea duty mean you will spend all your time in the sea?
No, contrary to popular belief, it's not like that. It's about the Navy is different from the Merchant Navy. In the Merchant Navy, yes, you spend all your time on board a ship because that's all you're doing is being on a ship. But the Navy is a profession. Being on a ship is part of that profession. It's a much larger canvas that we're looking at. We're looking at operations, we're looking at training, we're looking at planning. So there are various jobs you do. You do jobs ashore, you do jobs at sea, afloat, what we call jobs afloat. Even when you're posted afloat on a ship or a submarine, it's not that you're there at sea 365 days of the year. You go for exercises, you go and work up your crew. After all, you have to prepare your crew for war. That's the ultimate aim of being in the Navy is to defend the country. And, you have to be ready. When we were in the NDA, right from day one, you're taught. And when they put you through those tough, the tough training regimen, and you kind of wonder, what the hell am I doing all this? You're told, the more you sweat in peace, the less you bleed in war.
Wow.
Which actually means that the better you're trained in peacetime, the more chances of you being able to perform that much better in war. You can't just walk into a war and walk away, as a victor. And second important thing that one must understand is, in war, there are no runners-up. You either win a war or you lose a war. And you don't want to lose a war. It's not about just about yourself, it's about your nation. So you can't afford to lose a war. So if you have to win a war, you have to be right there, well-trained, be ready to fight and win. So that's basically what we're doing in peacetime. We go to sea, we come back, we carry out maintenance on our platforms. We do all kinds of things. But yes, we don't spend all the time at sea. But when you're posted on a ship or a submarine, even when you're in harbor, your office is your ship or your submarine. You're going on board every day, even if it's in harbor. Because you're working on your equipment, you're training your crew, you're responsible for a certain part of the ship as a junior officer. As you get senior, you're responsible for a larger part of the ship. When you're the captain, you're responsible for the entire ship.
Brilliant.
And in the Navy, responsibility comes with 100% accountability. So it's not that I can say that, oh, I'm sorry, this thing happened on my ship. I was not to blame, even though I'm the captain. That young officer didn't know what he was doing. Sorry, they say, if your young officer didn't know what he was doing, that's your fault. So ultimately, you are the captain of the ship. You will take the blame if something goes wrong. Simple. So when you have that sort of accountability and that sort of responsibility, you automatically have to work that much harder to fulfill that properly.
Brilliant.
So I think it's all about at a young age being taught all about responsibility, accountability, and authority. So you have authority. As a young officer, you're commanding men. But that doesn't mean you're just authority. You're also responsible for those men. And it's a very humbling experience.
Wow.
You're like a father figure to them. When you're the commanding officer, you're like a father figure to them.
Beautiful.
And you yourself are not very old. When you're commanding a submarine, you're barely 34, 35 years old.
Correct.
And suddenly you will find yourself in that position where everyone looks to you to give him the solution to any problem he might have, personal or professional.
Wow.
That can be quite a challenge, but it's interesting. Every day is different. Every day is interesting.
Very interesting. And it's a multitasking also. You learn to multitask.
It is.
Yeah,
Yes.
very nice. Okay, you have, Anil, you have had a distinction of commanding 4 submarines and a fleet ship. What is the difference between the two?
First, let me tell you the similarity between the two. They're both sea-going platforms. Both platforms go to sea. They're both meant to fight a war. They have their own role to play. A submarine has its own roles. A ship has its own roles.
Okay.
Ships are of different types. There are frigates, there are destroyers, there are aircraft carriers, there are tankers, there are corvettes. So each one has a different role to play. Some are anti-submarine, some are anti-aircraft, some are combined.
Okay.
So their role in war may be slightly different, but everyone has to operate in a very integrated environment. It's not that the submarine is operating separately and the ships are operating separately.
Okay.
It's a theater of war. So everyone's operating together. So even when we are in peacetime exercising, we are all the time exercising with ships and submarines together.
Wow.
Life on board is very different. Life on a ship is far more, I won't say it's easier because they have their own challenges, but it's definitely more comfortable. A submarine is a very cramped steel cylinder. You're underwater at times for 45 to 50 days.
Oh.
You don't see daylight, you don't see sunshine, you don't see anything. You're inside the cylinder for 50 days with
Oh my
50 other
God.
people.
Challenging.
So, so it's a challenging environment. It's not everybody's cup of tea. Submarining. I'm not talking to the Navy otherwise. And that is why the submarine arm in most democratic countries is a voluntary arm. You volunteer for submarine. No one can force you to join the submarines.
Okay.
And you stay in submarines till as long as you want to. At some point of time, you say, look, I don't want to stay in submarines anymore. You're allowed to leave the submarine and go back to the regular Navy.
Not bad. Okay.
So, yeah, because of the challenge of the job, because of the challenge of the environment you're living in.
Correct.
So you can't force somebody to go into that and live there. So that's fundamentally the difference. And then again, once you're many hundreds of meters below the water of the sea, there's no one you can look to. You're on your own over there. It's not that there are other ships in the vicinity and you have a fleet commander whom you can look at and say, look, I don't know what to do now. The buck stops with the captain of the submarine, whatever might happen on board. And that is why it is very important in a submarine that everybody has to be equally dedicated.
Beautiful.
You can't have people who are just there for the sake of being there. Because even if one person in that 60 makes a mistake in the machinery that he operates,
you're gone.
it can take a submarine down. It can sink a submarine and take 60 people down with him.
Correct.
So that's the challenge. That's the basic difference of these operating environment, which is far different, far more different in a submarine.
Very, very interesting, I must say. Very interesting. Okay. Anil, then, tell me, the Indian Navy is deterrent during war or intervention. What is the function during the peacetime?
Okay. Like I said, in peacetime, we are preparing for war.
You said it. Yes.
Now, the role of navies has slowly changed over the years. From the, when you see these old war movies or you see what Nelson and Napoleon did, ships met at sea and they fired cannons at each other and sank each other. The navies have moved far beyond that now. Now there's technology. You don't have what we call eyeball to eyeball confrontation at sea. You'll be firing a missile that ranges where you can't even see the other guy. It's on radar contacts, it's on satellite contacts, you carry out attacks. You can't see your enemy most of the time.
Okay.
Also, navies have a great role to play as a deterrent in war. Just to give you an example of what I'm trying to say, you all would remember the Kargil War of 1999. You all remember Vikram Batra, Dil Mange More, Tiger Hill, the bravery of the Indian Army, extraordinary bravery of the Indian Army in Kargil, proved to the world that the Indian Army is second to none. But the Navy's role, nobody understood what the Navy was doing, because the Navy firstly, operates away from shores. So the moment the ships sail out from harbor, the Navy's out at sea. Nobody's seeing it. Otherwise, you see fighter aircraft in the air, you see tanks on the road. When troops are moving, you see exercises happening on ground. But navies are operating far away from land. So what the Navy does, for example, Kargil, as I was saying, the Indian Navy managed to position 15 to 20 major warships exercising off Karachi or, in the North Arabian Sea. Now, this was not a direct threat to Pakistan. We didn't say we've come to attack you. We just let the world know that we are there. And tomorrow, if this war escalates, any ship approaching Karachi or Pakistan would be doing so at its own risk. So so you can block off the complete merchant traffic coming to a particular port. And with that, you can actually destroy the logistic lines that are there. For example, again, I can quote Kargil. Because of the Navy's presence, foreign tankers which bring oil to Pakistan were not coming beyond a point because they were not sure what will happen. And Pakistan was actually running out of oil. Now, if a country runs out of oil, it can't fight a war.
Correct.
Notwithstanding what was happening on the borders, where it was very important for us to take back the heights we had lost, it was this presence of the Navy which sort of precipitated the early end of the war, because the logistic lines, the logistics that could feed that country were being choked by the Navy. So the Navy has a very important role to play as a force, a presence, a deterrence. Similarly, if you see what's happening on the Ladakh border, the Navy is just operating in the Eastern Indian Ocean. And a message has gone around to everyone that 40 ships of the Navy are there at any given time. They're doing their own exercises. They're not fighting a war, but they're there. So it is this presence of the Navy in a deterrent role which is very important in war, besides, of course, fighting a war. And, we won't go into those details, but today ships can fire missiles 400 miles into land on land targets. So you can not only destroy ships at sea, you can even destroy land targets 400 miles in the interior on land with precision guidance. It will go and hit. If you aimed it at a particular hut, that missile will go and actually hit that hut.
Wow.
And these missiles have what is called contour mapping. So, if there's a mountain in between, the missile will go over the mountain and come on the other side of the mountain on its own.
Oh my
God. So it's
God.
things like that. So, naval ammunition, naval weaponry has reached very advanced levels.
Very nice.
That's basically what we do in peacetime, prepare for war.
Nice.
That's what we do.
Okay, tell me, is there any specific characteristic or trait you need to join an Indian Army? Indian
That's
Navy,
a difficult one. Well, let me be very honest. I think any and every boy or girl today, we have a lot of women officers in the armed forces now. They're in combat roles as well. So any and every boy and girl has the potential to join the armed forces. You don't have to be extraordinary to do anything to join the armed forces. It is what the armed forces make you thereafter that makes you different. It's the training you undergo at the training academies. It's the environment you live in. It's the responsibility you're given at a young age that matures you, shapes you, and shapes your personality that much faster.
Correct.
So I would, and let me also say that the kind of life the armed forces offers a young man or woman, no other profession offers that kind of a life.
Correct.
It's a life in itself.
Correct.
Just for your listeners, when we were young officers, one day a very senior officer said to us something which has stayed with me right through. He said, when someone asks you, what do you do? You say, I work for a multinational, or I work for a so-and-so, or I'm a lawyer. But what do you say? What do you say? You say, I'm in the Navy. I'm in the Army. You don't work for the Navy. You are in the Navy. The Navy is your life.
Correct.
And not only that, for us, it's also a life for our families. Even our children and our wives are integrated in this environment so well that they also consider themselves a part of the Navy. And
so sweet.
Even though I've retired now almost 10 years, we still think that, we still look forward to every naval event. We still look forward to being a part of that environment. We feel very happy when someone invites us to some naval, to a parade or to the band concert or to anything like that, because you're going back into the environment in which you've grown. You've grown 30 years in that environment. It was your life. Morning, evening, night, you slept Navy, breathed Navy, live Navy, eat Navy, drink Navy, do everything Navy, or Army or Air Force for that matter.
That's lovely.
So that's the difference basically.
That's really nice to hear. Very nice. Okay, Anil, tell us about your most challenging task while on duty and why it was so.
Like I said, every day is different at sea. Any day, any new eventuality can come up. Similarly, if you're flying a fighter jet, every day is different. Every time you're diving a submarine, two dives are never the same. There's a difference in the way the submarine goes down. There's a difference in the weights. So every day is a challenge of a different kind. Some days it can be quite overpowering. It can be quite overwhelming. On some days, it's very sort of easy to tackle. But so there's nothing you can really pinpoint as a particular event that was a great challenge or a particular occurrence that happened. There have been good days, there have been bad days at sea. I was just 22 years old when I was selected to, a submarine was going on a voyage from Mumbai to Vladivostok. the far east of Russia, of then the Soviet Union. And even though I was just 22 and I just joined the submarines, I was selected for that voyage to be part of the crew.
Okay.
And we sailed through typhoons in the South China Sea. We sailed through hurricanes. And the day we entered harbor, that was, I still remember the date, the 23rd of January, 1983, the temperature at sea off Vladivostok was minus 36 degrees centigrade.
Ooh,
and we were standing in the open and doing a watch with the wind and the breeze and everything and the waves and just about everything. But we were standing right in the open. There was snow all around us. Every wave that would any water that would come on us would freeze instantly on us. So when we would come down after a watch and go back inside a submarine, we used to be like, we didn't know, but people tell us that you used to be white. I mean, a person came down, he was white because he was covered in water which had fallen and frozen on the person.
Oh my God.
So then we'd slowly thaw out inside. We'd go and sit near the diesel engine, warm our hands on the diesel engine, which was warm, and then come back. So it was very interesting. And now, we laugh about it those days. So we've had some great times. Obviously, some fabulous times of fabulous challenges we faced. But again, it's all about facing the crew, the challenge of the crew. It's never about I face the challenge. It's always we face the challenge and we overcame it.
That's a beautiful message, I think. That's a beautiful message. Okay, tell me, people say that, the naval officers are so busy in their routine that the family life is just ruined sometimes. Is it true?
I think that's not true. In fact, I would think that's not true. Yes, when we are at sea, it's 24 hours on board. You're not with your families. But at that time, we have a tremendous support system for our families back ashore. I mean, I sailed a lot. I was 16 years. I was continuously on submarines from 1982 to 1998. And then I went back on as command of a ship subsequently. Or at no time at sea do you feel that, oh my God, my wife is all alone. My children may not be well. Because the support system in harbor is so good that if there is a problem with any sailor's wife or any officer's wife or child, there is always people to fall back on. You go to the hospital and say, it's a tremendous family environment we have. Our children grow up in a very secure environment. And that's why it becomes, like I said, we are all in the Navy. So even our families are in the Navy and they are well taken care of. Insofar as family life goes, let me tell you that the time that we are in harbor, and when we are not in working hours, I think service officers spend maximum time with their families because the family is so integral to them and their environment. I mean, whether you're with your family, even if you're going for a party, every party that we have in the military is with your wife. You're never told, okay, there's a company party. It's only for the men or the women working in the company. The spouse is always part of that environment.
Yes.
Your children are part of that environment. So our family life does not suffer. In fact, it's quite the opposite. Life in the armed forces is very family oriented that way. The family is a very important part of the person who's serving.
So how lucrative is this profession?
Let me tell you, nobody should join the armed forces for money. But let me also tell you that from the time we joined, things have improved a great deal now. After every 10 years, there's something called a pay commission, which revises the salaries for the entire government, not only the armed forces, for the entire government. And ever since the 6th pay commission, which came in about 15 years ago, then there's been a 7th pay commission. Life has become very comfortable financially. You'll never be rich, but there's no end to wanting. What is rich?
Correct.
There's never any end to it. If I have 100 rupees, I want 1,000. If I have 1,000, I want 10,000. So there's no end to that. But if I can give my family a good quality of life,
quality is what matters.
A good stable environment, safe and stable environment, be able to give the best education to my children, and provide for everybody and bring them up well, I think that in itself is enough. And I think more than money, it's the quality of life. That is really our wealth, is the kind of environment. It's all about us. It's all about us and our families. It's about where we've grown up. It's about how we look out for each other. These are the important things, and that is our strength actually, not financial, but I know finance is an important aspect, and today's youth is very aware. We were absolutely not aware. I mean, I still remember, I can tell you a couple of instances when we used to get our salary at the end of the month. In those days, you didn't go into a bank, you were given cash. I'm talking of 1981. You looked at it and said, wow, I got $1,000. Now, how do I spend it? It's a lot of money. And so, what you wanted was I should have enough money to put to put fuel in my motorcycle. And, that's it. So it was a very simple sort of environment we grew up in. We were never worried that, oh God, will I have money? Do I have savings? But now times have changed. People have become far more aware. Till many years ago, if somebody asked me what's your salary, I said, I don't know. I get a pay slip at the end of the month. They've got a computerized system which calculates it. So it must be all right. This is the amount of money that comes in the bank. I really don't care. Not really bothered about how it was calculated, whether it's the right amount or wrong amount. It must be right. It's that sort of an approach. Because right from the beginning, and this is something important which young people must understand. The armed forces are an environment where you discourage any sort of external, I wouldn't say influence, but anything negative. So 3 things that we were always taught, and I think we even today teach our youngsters, is that when you're in a military environment, when you're in the mess, let's say having a drink with your friends in the evening, there are 3 things you never discuss if you can help it. One is politics, because we are apolitical. We are there for the country and the constitution. It doesn't matter who's in power, who's not in power, what are they doing, are they right, are they wrong. My job is to defend my country, period. That's it. And that I will do to the best of my ability.
Remarkable.
So we never discuss politics.
Remarkable.
We never discuss money. That's another thing. You don't talk about, oh, that guy's so rich, his father's so rich, oh, look where he comes from. We are so egalitarian that when you join the NDA, everybody is issued the same pair of shorts, the same t-shirt, the same PT shoes. You cannot say, oh, I've got a fancy pair of Nike shoes, or I've got an Adidas pair, or I've got this, or I've got that. Everybody wears the same thing. So you don't even know this guy who's sitting opposite you, does he come from a rich family? Does he come from a poor family? You're judging him, boy, he's good in studies. Oh boy, he's good in academics. He's good in games. He's a great hockey player. So you're judging him for what he is and not where he comes from. And not where he comes from. And the third thing we never discuss, and this is important, is women. Women are never discussed in a mess or a wardroom. Never ever.
That's a news.
That's because of the respect we give to women. You've all heard of armed forces chivalry. This is part of that chivalry which you always hear about. So politics, money, and women, 3 things that are never discussed.
Brilliant answer. Brilliant.
This is a value system. This is a value system that you're taught, and it stays with you all your life. It never goes away.
Fantastic. Okay, now quick answers because we're running so short of time.
Yeah.
How has the pandemic affected the entrants joining the Indian Navy?
Well, it hasn't. Let me be very honest. Yes, the exam I think was delayed, but now everything is back. The academies are functioning. New cadets are joining. So it has not affected, the pandemic has not affected the training pattern at all. Training is going on as normal. A lot of precautions are being taken. And, it's a matter of great pride that while there have been the odd COVID case in the Navy because people have been exposed to the outside, there has not been one single COVID case in any ship or submarine of the Indian Navy to date. Not even one.
Wow.
Because we've been so careful, people have observed the right precautions, and we managed to keep COVID out of the ships and submarines.
Lovely.
Even the US Navy at one stage had about 19 ships which were affected by COVID, but the Indian Navy, not one case. So COVID has not really affected us. We've sort of worked our way around it, and with the right precautions, we've been able to tackle it so far.
So tell me, Anil, if you could turn the clock back in your profession, where would you take it back to?
Well, frankly speaking, I think I would live this life over and over again. I don't think I have a single regret ever. It was a dream. It's a dream. It's really been a dream existence. I've been lucky. I've had some very good appointments. I've served with outstanding people, both seniors and juniors. I've had 5 commands at sea. I've done a diplomatic assignment. I've trained young people, at the NDA. So I've done just about everything a naval officer should do in his career. And I think the best decision I took was to volunteer for submarines as a young 21-year-old. That is perhaps the best decision I took.
Very nice. These days, I believe you're busy with a lot of virtual interviews and programs. Is it true?
Yes, I am also the vice president of the Indian Maritime Foundation, which is an NGO.
Okay.
Our job, basically, what we try and do is we spread awareness about the maritime domain. Because we always say that Delhi is so far away from the sea that there is a sea blindness over here. People don't know what people do, what is done, what happens in the maritime domain, which is a fact. I mean, I hadn't really seen a submarine till I joined the Navy. I'd never seen a submarine. So, because I'd lived in Delhi all my life, and what did the sea mean? The sea meant Goa and a beach. It never meant warships in the Navy. So I think that is important, and we do that. So because of that, I go on various shows. We go to universities, colleges, schools. We talk about the maritime, not only Navy, we talk about the maritime domain, how important it is.
Wow.
And if I have 30 seconds, I can tell you that for India, the maritime domain is very important. 90% of our trade, 90% comes over the sea. And 80% of our oil comes over the sea. So tomorrow, if this gets threatened, India's very economy will collapse. It is that important, amongst other things. So that awareness is not there. People don't understand that because they've never seen it, they've never been exposed to it. But I think that is one of the messages we carry with us when we go, and I go and speak at various institutions. I also participate in various debates and discussions on the maritime domain. I write articles in magazines on the Navy and on the maritime domain. But that's because I'm keen on these things, and it's important to convey the naval message to the larger national audience.
Yeah. One very quick answer now. What is the advice you like to give it to the youngsters and the parents?
Well, like I said in the beginning, the armed forces, I'm not specifically the Navy, but the armed forces are an excellent profession. It's the best profession a young man or woman can want to join. It offers you a fantastic quality of life for the first 20, 25 years. Then you may have your own priorities in life, your children's education or whatever. But for the first 20, 25 years, there is no other profession which gives you the kind of life. You live in a very fine environment. Our cantonments, you've seen, most of your viewers would have seen cantonments. They're spick and span, well maintained. There are lots of sports facilities. There are clubs where you can have a lot of recreational activities. There is no politics. You are judged totally on your own merit. If you're good, you will go up. If you're not good, you will not go up. And you don't have to market yourself. Every day your men and your officers can see how good you are because you're working in front of them. You cannot pull wool over anybody's eyes and fool anybody that, if you're not good professionally. So you have to, and to put it in three words, you work hard, you play hard, and you party hard. And that's what the armed forces are all about.
Lovely. So I tell you, this comes to the end of the program. I think I don't want to end here, but I have to end with a small appreciation note. Your life, Commodore Anil Jai Singh, has been like a duck, okay, who looked calm at the surface, but paddling like hell underneath. So thank you very much for coming. It has been a pleasure to have you on board. Your information was just remarkable.